There's a family in our driveway.
It's probably the neighbors. But y'all scared of a family? Hi, can I help you?
Zora, put your shoes on.
If you want to get crazy, we can get crazy. What are you people?
It's us.
You've landed on The Substance, a podcast aimed at being biblical, thoughtful, and human. Join us every other week as we engage the culture without the culture war. I'm your host, Trevor Aiken, joined here by a couple of my co-hosts. That is Vincent Edwards.
What's going on?
And Philip A. Marinello.
Hey, everybody.
You like that? I throw that middle initial in there, make you feel even
I'll take it.
more
I
official.
sign my official documents.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of like that when people author books, the people who use just two initials for their name. You know, they do that just for the book.
I will probably go Philip A. Marinello if I write a book.
You do PA. You wouldn't do PA Marinello?
No. I would not. I don't want to go by PA. No.
Wait, Vincent, what would your scholarly book title be?
Vincent Edwards. Feels professional enough.
No, but if you did initials.
Oh, if I did initials?
Yeah.
Well, no. I guess it's Vincent D. Edwards.
So VD. Yeah, probably not that.
Not VD. That's why I avoided that.
Cool. Very cool, guys. Let's
VD Edwards.
So that's funny.
Oh gosh.
Well, thanks for joining The Substance today. We're a Christian variety show, and every week we talk for about an hour about some things related to Christianity, culture, and the arts. Sometimes we have great guests on, like Alyssa Wilkinson, Brett McCracken, Eugene Park, Tyler Huckabee, some good folks who we've really enjoyed conversations around stuff in the culture and movies with. And then I edit all the stuff that I do wrong so that you just hear good stuff instead of that. But anyway,
nice.
We'll do some shout outs at the end if I think of any. And you'll definitely hear Phillips and Vince's. And man, it's great having you back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this week we'll be doing
I'm probably getting fired from intros after that one for a little bit until I get this new script down or something.
You're not a movie guy. You're not a movie episode intro guy.
That's right. There you go.
It's fine.
If you're new to The Substance, you might not know when we do the movie episodes that I kind of play the role of the not movie guy on the movie podcast. It's always kind of a fun thing to do. So I might as well be the not able to do the intro guy as well.
That was something. But we're here. Intro done. Check. Introduce episode. So this is Substantive Cinema. We'll be covering. We're all very excited. I mean, honestly, Trevor, are you excited? How are you feeling about what's your Nope anticipation level?
Oh, that's happening? I think I saw a trailer once while I was maybe seeing something, maybe in the theater, maybe not. And I was like, that's kind of neat.
All right.
And then I figured it would come out eventually and that I would see it maybe.
Hey, 100% agree. Does look neat and it should be coming out.
Yep.
We're pretty excited about it. We previously covered Get Out with Eugene Park and we're all very excited about Nope. So I thought, hey, let's complete the Jordan Peele filmography for now. And not just complete, like, this is a very substantive film. We're talking about 2019's Us, his second feature after in 2017 Get Out. Critical and audience success. It had a very small budget. It made tons and tons and tons of money on the budget. Got 4 Oscar nominations. It won Best Screenplay. So expectations were very high, or interest was very high. I remember when this was getting ready to come out, I was pumped. Vince, did you see this one in the theater?
I did not see Us in the theater. Actually, you know what? I did see Us in the theater. It was really, really good. It was way more, I would say, I don't want to say terrifying, but it was scarier than Get Out for sure.
Scarier for sure. Like, it was much more like Get Out is a
Which was
horror
by
movie for
design,
sure.
right?
Yeah, this had much more, like, not quite slasher, but like people stalking you. Like, it was
It was scary.
definitely a
Yeah.
more overtly
Yeah.
scary movie.
Well, and before we dive in, I definitely want to let the audience know, hey, spoiler alert. And spoiler alert is fair for this one because even though it was released in 2019, it is
Time soup.
Yeah, you can
2019 is basically yesterday.
Yeah, and honestly, you will re-watch that movie and find so many more things as you keep watching it. So it's a movie that is definitely has rewatch value. So we are gonna spoil it. So if you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
stop this episode right now, go watch it, and then come right back.
If that matters to you, or if you're like, I just want to hear him talk about it, and you might kind of get primed for it. So enjoy. Either way, just know that we're going to be kind of talking about the whole thing.
Exactly.
Get Out, it was something that really made me think. I really enjoyed that movie. And us in the horror genre, like I was reading that Jordan Peele did want to make it something that would be really true to the genre. Like he made Get Out and he felt like maybe people didn't really take it seriously as a horror movie.
Yeah.
So he wanted to make a horror movie. But I would still say that personally, I don't like horror.
Mhm.
And I know that's a lot of people out there too. Like you might see that and see that this is a horror movie and think, nah, I'm not going to do it.
If you look at the poster too, like it is very eerie and creepy. Like I know my wife saw the poster and she's like, no, not interested.
No way. Yeah.
Fair.
They might say nope. But I think it's accessible, honestly, even as a horror film. Like it's not one of those that's like, I mean, to me at least, keep you up at night, give you nightmares.
It's not overly gruesome.
Stuff like that.
It is. I mean, it's scary in the moment. Like it'll put you on that roller coaster thrill ride.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the things that Jordan Peele has said a lot is in his lane of like the social thriller horror thing, he's aiming for thoughtful popcorn movie. Like he wants it to be an entertainment that takes you on a ride, gives you an experience. You feel like, oh, like I got my $12 worth, whatever, in the theater, or exorbitantly more if you're going to like, I mean, you get all the
AMC or whatever.
If you pay for a movie, he wants you to get your money's worth, but also not just have the thrill, but like sit with you. Because I mean, both Get Out and Us are very, very entertaining movie watching, like theatrical experiences or living room experiences. But then they're movies that, okay, once it's over, like, let's talk about that.
Right.
That's another reason I think it'll make a great topic for this episode.
For sure. Just to give a quick synopsis of the film, Us starts in, I believe, the 1980s. A young lady, she's with her family. The family's kind of arguing. She wanders off on the beach. She goes into a mirror, one of those funhouse mirror areas in like the carnival or whatever, and finds a reflective image of herself. But it's not actually the mirror. She is looking at an actual double. Then that leads over to a family of 4 who's going on a vacation within the same area. And they are enjoying each other, enjoying the family. And then by the evening, there are another family comes to visit them. And it is actually a doppelganger family of each family member. And from there, the night turns quite terrible.
Doppelgangers are scary, man.
Yeah, in general. Yeah. I think if I saw a doppelganger of myself, I would be pretty terrified. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. I mean, like, they've definitely got a strong cinematic legacy of being usually very terrifying or like dark omens or things like that. And I thought that the initial seed of that will go really well with the ideas that he's trying to get at. And I really do love, like we said before, how he makes good movies with really strong ideas, which is why, like, I really think, look at like jumping forward a couple of decades, like I think his filmography is going to be something very, very special if he is allowed to continue to get funding and
go in that direction.
These types of stories that he wants to make.
Yeah, and I'll also interject, like, for people who are like me, who love the plot points, and it's like everything has to make sense. Make it make sense. This is one of those few movies where there are elements of the story that just occur. They exist, and it's not going to get explained.
Oh, for
and
sure.
I think that's a good thing, actually. In order to engage your imagination, I think those things have to not be explained in order for you to engage those ideas. So if you're the kind of person where it's like everything has to fall in line, tell me every single detail, you are gonna be disappointed on that fact.
Yeah.
But it is absolute, like, it's worth it to go that journey without certain explanations. So I think it challenged me in that way, and it was kind of fun to think about it in that way as well.
This movie is definitely made to be thought about, but not in the way of hyper internal logic.
Right.
Because I mean, the very beginning, the title cards at the beginning says, there are thousands of miles of tunnels beneath the continental United States, abandoned subway systems, unused service routes, and deserted mine shafts. Many have no known purpose at all. So, like, he's setting the stage. Like, that is an idea. Like, you don't want to run with that to it. But the idea is there are things like undergirding our foundation that we didn't set in place, like we didn't do, that had purposes at times, that probably will have ramifications going forward. But just know that, and just
they just
go for it.
exist, and we
Yeah,
don't,
it just
and we
is.
don't really think of it, but they're there and they're underneath the surface.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I mean, and right away, talking, like, he mentions the United States specifically. The movie's called Us. You can kind of look at it as like one specifically, like Us, like it is about like you as the viewers kind of being brought into it. But I mean, it is very, like, as Red, the main character's doppelganger, says very kind of chillingly, like when they say like, "Who are you guys?" She says, "We're Americans." Like the
Right.
movie is about the United States.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's
the
it's
US.
definitely layered. Man, it's so much about this. So I guess I'll just ask you guys, like Trev, Phil, what would you say was one of the most substantive points that you pulled from? Just one or two that you guys would say like this movie really speaks to that in a substantive way.
I mean, I don't know specifically about points, but I mean, the movie is about like the sins of the past. And I would also kind of tag on something that we talk about a lot is the nature of communal sins or systemic sins or evils, and kind of the ripples and the consequences that you either benefit, like how people benefit from things that maybe they didn't do, or are harmed by things that they didn't do unfairly, and just kind of how that all entwines together.
Yeah. It's really weird because and this is a spoiler. So the young lady who she was abducted as a child.
Yeah, let's get this out of the way at the top. Let's not tease this out.
Yeah. So it's Lupita's character. When she was a child, she was switched. So the doppelganger switches with the actual one who's on the surface, and they switch spots, traps her down there. But here's the crazy thing. She adopts the environment when she's down there. And so it almost says we like to, in our minds, when it comes to movies or anything that we're watching cinematically, it's who's the bad guy, who's the good guy. And there was no sinister motivation so much from, at least initially, with the little girl who got kidnapped. But she adopted this area and this environment and interjected this idea of we are being mistreated because, for the few years she lived before she got switched, she knew that life down here is very different from life up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a call out to some sinister nature in ourselves.
Well, I mean, I guess it's correct to say she adapts, but she really survives and then kind of engineers the revolution.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it in that way.
Yeah, the whole idea of like what's underneath the surface matters and will come to light, and you'll have to deal with it. You have to deal with the you that's under the surface.
Yeah.
I feel like this is one of those movies where it bears watching again and getting more. Like I know that when I watched Get Out the first time, like I immediately like rewatched it, and there's very, very few movies.
Which for Trevor is like really, really something.
Yeah, really don't do that. Yeah, but like immediately, it's like okay. I think the only other movie I've done stuff like that with is like maybe Fight Club and Usual Suspects. But yeah, I feel like this could bear that as well, because just understand like there's so much importance and meaning that's being worked into this movie, and the different symbols that, like, the first time I watched it, it really felt like, okay, I'm watching this kind of creepy movie where these people get haunted by their doppelgangers, who, like, you learn more
Which
and
works
more.
as a movie. Like, that is a scary premise.
Yeah.
That is an effective, here's my ticket price, like, give me
Yeah.
something kind of scary and fun, and it's much more well constructed
Yeah.
than much more of the movies that are out there.
Yeah, and it morphs like over time. Like, I think a lot of horror, and I think something that Jordan Peele does well, like a lot of horror really focuses in on the individual and the personal, like the personal actions, the individual actions. And like one thing that happens in this movie is it zooms out.
Yeah.
And the fact that it does that, like the fact that you start seeing that it's other families, the fact that you start seeing it's the whole nation, the fact that you start seeing this hands across America kind of thing
Sure, that was
happen
right at the
with
beginning, yeah.
underground people. Yeah. At the beginning, and then at the end as well, as they like
Sure.
form the literal chain, it's like he's doing something that's bigger, that's more social than even just the personal events. And you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
a lot
The
of horror
ending,
is about someone's personal tragedy and
Yes.
Yeah.
This
and
is about
horrific events. But this is bigger than that.
Yeah, this
And
is
when it
about the
gets bigger
collective
than
trauma,
that is what
tragedy.
almost like allows it to transform in a way that made it more accessible to me as a horror, because like
Yeah.
that gets so intense. But I think he gives you all that intensity and then pulls back and shows you that there's actually a greater meaning to it.
Yeah. I remember one feeling I had when I first watched it in the theater by the end. And in all honesty, I felt despair, because it was like, if that kind of thing happened, I'd die and my doppelganger would take and hold somebody else's hand across the nation. And Jordan Peele didn't give us a resolution at the end. It wasn't like, okay, they did all of this, but then the military came in and got rid of all the doppelgangers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
the
so it's
ending is
just like,
hard. Like, I don't want to
that's
focus too much
tough.
on the ending, but it is. And I don't know how you could have ended it better. And again, like, that goes to the idea of you don't want to pick it apart too hard.
No, and it's not that
But
the
it
ending's
is-
bad. It's just more of like this feeling of like, because
What
there's no
then?
resolution, it leaves this kind of despairing wonder of like, man, what's the world gonna be like now? You know what I mean? Or their world is not so much ours, but it's just saying, what is the world going to look like now? And and that mystery is like, I don't go on the journey to try to figure that out by any means, but it is leaving that mystery of like, dang, that kind of sucks. What's happening next, kind of thing.
If you follow the metaphor of what thematically the movie is about, I think that is actually a really interesting conversation point if you want to look at it substantively. So, one of the questions that the movie raises is like, how does our privilege get paid for? Like, who suffers so that we can have prosperity? And what happens when the people who suffer like revolt and decide that they don't want to suffer? Like, necessarily, like, there is chaos. And like, you hear people talk about, like, with the systemic racism conversations, like, well, what do you guys like want? What's the solution? Like, we have baseline normalcy. So like, if we really upset the apple cart, then what's going to happen?
Yeah.
That will introduce some chaos and like a reordering. What happens when you try to equalize things a little bit? Like, there is chaos there. That is an interesting thing that like you kind of can't escape. And it is uncomfortable. That discomfort you have is probably the same discomfort in the fear that is being preached to people with certain persuasions and socioeconomic and tribal identities. Like, well, if we give in to these things, then there's just going to be like wanton chaos. And that is kind of unsettling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good point. And like a huge topic of conversation, and I'm not on social media, so I don't know if it's that huge, but a topic of conversation that at least I heard was this desire to, and we even talked about it, like people who are trying to dismiss the systemic racism kind of conversation often say we are not guilty for the sins of our fathers. And it's like, well, sure, but even in this movie, it's showing like the people who are dying or being confronted by their doppelgangers, they didn't do this governmental genetic process to try to control people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the suffering that these doppelgangers had was not at the result of the people who actually got the consequence. Yeah,
But they were the ones like benefiting from the suffering.
exactly.
And
Exactly. And so it's to say it's even though you weren't directly involved in that suffering, it does not mean that it is far
you're not
detached
absolved
you.
from your ignorant benefiting.
Exactly.
Yeah. One of the things about this movie too is it's so, I remember watching it and just thinking like, okay, I feel like something's vaguely going on here about like the privilege and the race and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, like, you can't coherently really map it and say, okay, well, this equals this in the world, or this is like kind of what's going on.
100%.
Exactly
No, like that's not the
And
goal of it.
You know, because I like to be entered into a world, you know what I mean? And try to like kind of think about what is this universe that's being crafted, and what, you know, am I learning about it? But I think what Alyssa Wilkinson wrote, I'm literally going to quote from this article because I thought it was really good. Like, it works best if you don't try to pick it apart too much and stitch together coherent mythology. It's going to frustrate you if you crave plot points that can be coherently explained and mapped explicitly directly onto the real world.
Yeah.
And that way it feels less expertly crafted than Get Out, though also more ripe for rewatching, considering from new angles. Your mileage may vary. What people see reflected in the film may say less about the film than it does about themselves. It's no accident that some posters of the film feature inkblot imagery to mimic a Rorschach test. So I thought that was interesting too. Like, what do people see when they watch this, you know, as well? Because I almost read it as kind of a somewhat of a blank slate, just kind of an eerie mythology of something that lies under the surface. I think it makes sense that it's race. I mean, we know Jordan Peele's mythology. We know the history of America. We know some of the things that he's alluding to, you know, very clearly with like scenes with the rabbits and stuff like that. There's some very clear allusions of that he wants us to think that, but it can be other things too.
Exactly. And that's why it's not about how did the tethered originate? Who is the mastermind behind the tethered? It's just the tethered are.
Here's the tethered. Yeah.
Which I'm so happy about. Oh man, we don't need like sequels and prequels and miniseries and spin-offs. Is like, here's how they became. It's like, no, like this is a very thrilling thing that is very substantive, and like if you want it to be, a lot of really good fodder here. And I was just thinking about the beginning of the movie, Vince. We talked about Candyman a few times.
Yeah.
I always forget. I've seen this movie, I think when I watched it for this episode, it was the fourth or fifth time I watched it. I always forget Yaya's in it. And when I saw him this time, he was Adelaide's dad back in the 80s.
Yep.
And it just made me real sad that things shifted around, and for whatever reason, like Jordan Peele didn't actually direct Candyman. I feel like a Jordan Peele, and no shade to Nia DaCosta, like it's an interesting movie.
Yeah,
it's not
bad for him.
I would have. How great would a Jordan Peele directed and written and fully visioned Jordan Peele Candyman? How great would have that been?
Yeah, that would have been sick. I would have watched that like 6 times. Seriously.
I do want to revisit Candyman, but like seeing him, I was like, oh yeah, like it kind of made me feel a little bit salty and it's just sad. I would have loved that. But if they make more, get Jordan Peele on that. But I'd rather actually have original Jordan Peele movies.
Yeah, and I like the point that you brought up, or from the quote that you did, Trevor, because that was also a part of my frustration. Like, I walked out of the film asking a lot of those questions. What are these rabbits? Did they really survive on rabbits? You know what I'm saying? Like, and who actually created them? Like, and to your point, Phil, like, and that's why I made that face. Like, I kind of wanted like us prequel to like that itch to say, all right, show me how it happened though. Like, I get what you're trying to tell me. I hear the message, big dog. Now tell me how we got to here. You know what I'm saying?
Give me that miniseries prequel about the plans. Like, give me the first Purge version of us, and like show me how it started.
Exactly. But I'm glad, like, over time and watching it multiple times, I think that's the genius of the film. saying there are going to be elements of this that you are not going to know about. You're not going to know its history. Yet this thing exists and it's affecting the world, the us world, in a deeply impactful way. How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And it challenged me in a way that I don't think a film has, just because I'm often like, I will say a film is trash if it didn't make sense in my brain. But this is one of the few where it's like, there are huge plot holes, but I'm okay with that. Like, because I need to
But
think.
plot hole insinuates that like there was a mistake made.
Sure. Okay.
Sure.
What's the, I don't know, the
I know what you're saying. No,
cinematic
and sure.
word for it.
And that's not. I'm just kind of being nitpicky a little bit.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if we have a term for it, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's very elliptical, right? Like it leaves stuff out that you would kind of want more on, but at the same time, like it's because I don't know, maybe we're more comfortable with allegory than we are just with representative art. Like the same reason why Impressionism as an art form was looked down upon when it first came out. It was like, well, what, like, where's the sharpness of the images? What are you doing with these weird blurry brush strokes?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's something about the staying power and the representation of that's powerful.
Which is a good segue for my soapbox of many people were robbed, but Lupita Nyong'o was especially robbed at the Oscars that year. Like, Get Out, I think, deserved all 4 of their nominations. They deserved their win. I feel like they maybe deserved more. But I mean, Us got 0 Oscar nominations. Like, it was very horror. It was very non put in a box, wrapped in a bow. Like, this should have absolutely gotten a Best Screenplay nomination. This absolutely should have gotten a Best Director nomination.
Well, and you're having to act both sides, like they're acting.
My goodness, let's talk about
tethered
that.
and untethered.
The movie itself, all 4 of the principal actors in this film were incredible. They did dual roles phenomenally, and sometimes, obviously, they shot them on different days and they stitched them together. But like in the same scene, playing opposite themselves, it really it's low key, like pretty incredible.
Yeah.
They didn't have a crazy shooting schedule. They didn't have a crazy budget. This is a horror movie budget, a horror movie shooting schedule where like each actor effectively like did 2 roles.
Well, yeah, especially Lupita's character.
Even more.
If you think about the Adelaide Red thing, like as Red, she's playing a normal human child who grew up as a tethered child, like in the tethered environment, having adopted their culture, having like taken on their cause. That's just mind-bending, kind of weird, like, and she nails it.
Yeah, and she really tapped in a way where, and I think honestly that was the scariest part, or not the scariest part, more of just like the piercing part of just like her performance really made you believe like, yo, she has been slighted and she's not standing for this anymore, Red. And it's like, and even the intensity of when she was telling her Adelaide
that initial monologue,
the initial monologue, and then she was like telling her to attach herself with the handcuff to the coffee table, and even the look where she was kind of dancing her fingers on her face and how she was looking at her. It was just like, oh my goodness. Like it was I don't know. I want to say groundbreaking, but I also want to be like, I don't know if that's the appropriate way to say it, but
I mean,
it felt that way. It was just
it's up there.
And even the kids, the younger actors, they
girl
fantastic.
Was terrifying. The tethered young girl of the family. Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke have 2 children. Both child actors were incredible, but that tethered young girl, terrifying.
Oh yeah,
terrifying. The faces she made.
Then and you have a person who looks exactly like you, so that's already a shock factor.
Mm-hmm.
Then that person says, "Hey, big dog, you are in an environment where you're in trouble, and I have the advantage. Trust me."
But the makeup and the they
Oh my goodness! And then
the
that
looks,
smile that she had was,
oof,
it was like not ending.
the big eyes. Oh man.
And it's just like, oh, you know what? I would have been like, all right, you go ahead and take my life, big dog. I'm cool.
When she was on top of the car and that guy's like, hey, like, get off my car.
Right.
And he's like, oh, this is just some dumb kid. And I was like, oh, this is not going to end well for this guy.
Right. Exactly. It's just, it takes quite a few elements of what anybody would be fearful of and really compounded it to where, and the performances were spot on. I don't think casting could have been any better. So they did a really good job.
You were talking about that monologue scene. So when they first kind of break into the home, confront the real quote unquote family, on subsequent viewings, I almost got teared up. Like it's a really brutal story because, like you said, she was taken from her family and then forced into the system that most people aren't aware of, realizing that like she has to suffer in order for her counterpart to prosper, and doing that as somebody who knows what she's missing, the bitterness and the extra layers of horror, especially when she talks about having children.
Yeah.
And just going through that experience. Like it's heartbreaking. It's brutal stuff packaged within this like popcorn horror movie, like about doppelgangers, like, oh, boo, scary. Like it's really dealing with substantive things.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the Jeremiah 11:11 reference?
Man, he got lucky. Good golly, did he get lucky?
Yeah, he did.
Golly, it's perfect. So in the opening sequence in the 80s, Adelaide sees a guy holding a sign at the boardwalk saying Jeremiah 11:11. And the text of that verse reads, therefore, thus says the Lord, behold, I bring disaster upon them, which they will not be able to escape, though they will cry to me, yet I will not listen to them. And talking about how God's people, like the nation, drifting away, doing wrong, God is like, you're going to be judged for this. And it happens to be in a mirrored double, like 1111. Like Jordan Peele just he hit the jackpot on that one.
Yeah, he did.
Cosmically. Somebody marked out the verses for him real nice.
And 1111 features just filmmaking artistically. The clock reads 11:11 at one point, and they kind of note it. And the baseball game that Winston Duke's character is watching, the baseball score was 11:11 at a certain time. Like there's a lot there. Like it is really like ripe for repeat viewings. Like just about every aspect of the movie.
This might be a little off topic from where we're at, so apologies if so. But like in my mind, your main characters in the horror are the ones who are humanized in their frailty and in their passions and the things that they want and the things that they're afraid of and the things that they do stupid and all sorts of stuff. You know, we're yelling at the main character while the forces that come against them are usually big and ominous and not relatable and not human, hard to comprehend. Things, you know, I don't know that anybody humanizes, for example, Freddy, and like Friday or Jason. Which one is it? Friday the 13th? Well, I don't know. I'm not the movie guy.
Jason is Friday the 13th. But yeah, that's relevant.
There's another guy. Anyway, there's also whatever these other guys too. But yeah, so
there are other kinds of horror.
Guys. Yeah, that's my quote. Non-movie guy here. But my point being that, like, are you sitting there being like, man, you know, Jason's kind of empathetic character? I don't think so. But like, there are moments in this movie that, unless I'm misremembering, like where the little boy was sitting down with his doppelganger little boy, and they're like, were they like playing with toys for a moment or something, or even like just hearing
the magic trick thing?
Yeah, or even just hearing the lady's story, like you were just talking about, Phil. Like there are moments that humanize the tethered in ways that like is unnatural and a little bit different for the genre, you know, for these characters that are supposed to be the element of horror, the element of, the thing that we're terrified of the
Yeah.
tragic, awful disaster that their presence is. It's more than just that, because he humanizes them too, and there's elements where we can empathize with it, which is kind of unique.
Yeah, Phil and I were talking about it. I think the only other film that I've ever seen that was Wrong Turn, the newer version, because
Oh
initially,
man, that's a shout out right
yeah,
there.
I'm not gonna tell, no spoilers for that, but I think an element of initially, like, these bad guys are really bad guys, and then as the movie
Mm.
continues, it's like, oh, you know
Little
what?
mini shout. No, if we had a substantive cinema podcast and we
Mhm.
did a horror thing, the new Wrong Turn reboot was really, really
Yeah,
impressive
but
for sure.
it dabbles into that what you're talking
Yeah.
about, like, being able to say, "Okay," like, typically, the bad guy is the bad guy, and we don't have to go beyond that. They're the bad guy,
The
they're trying
original
to do
Candyman.
wrong, they're trying to kill people, da, 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 da. But it's like certain movies like Wrong Turn, like Us, and I'm sure other films where it's like, the bad guy is a bad guy, kind of, but there are certain elements where it's relatable. There are certain elements where it's like, I don't think that's bad necessarily. How you're maybe executing certain things is bad. But it really, and I like that. I'm glad you brought that up. I like that because it forces you not to have that very just plain sectioning of characters. It's either this group is bad, this group is good. I'm rooting for you guys. Hopefully you get the victory, like almost every rock movie. Um it's like, no, you have to actually think, and there are certain elements that are absolutely different. There are other elements that are actually going to engage in ways that's not going to make it black and white, is going to make it very, very gray.
Yeah, no, I think those are some good shout outs. And this is maybe a weird one as well, but like I can almost find some similarities, guys, with Godzilla in a way.
I was gonna
Sure.
say
B-
that. Yeah.
That's
All
not
right.
even a stretch for sure.
Yeah.
Because Godzilla, the character, the force of nature that is Godzilla is somewhat relatable in a way. Like it's something that you empathize for. Like it got disturbed out of its home. It's a force from that's kind of because of the things that have happened in the past that is now wreaking destruction on folks, but itself is empathetic in ways. Like it's just disturbed and from its home because of the things that men have done, and the ways that it's dealt with aren't great. Like all those kind of things, there's some similarities, and there's a lot about the social past and what we might need to choose to do that's kind of being alluded to there as well. So yeah, there's lots of different lenses to look at
Yeah.
this film. Apparently that's pretty wild.
You reminded me there, Trevor, with what you said, talking about like the things that happened in the past. One of the things I absolutely don't want to miss on our episode here is just Winston Duke's spotlight. The man was excellent as like the dopey dad and like the primary comic relief.
Mhm.
Lot of cringy funny lines and a lot of actually funny, like he's just a dad. Like
Right.
he's a
Yeah.
dad trying to enjoy his vacation. Like he's trying to
Yeah.
crack some dumb jokes and trying to like one up his buddies and trying to enjoy time with his wife and just doing all these things. And but one of the lines that he had that kind of stuck out to me on this viewing was when Lupita was talking about like she doesn't want to go to the beach, like where she was kind of traumatized as a kid. Tells him the whole story. Well, tells him the whole story without the spoiler of revealing who she actually is, saying, "Hey, like I saw this other version of me." It is a little bit unclear as to if she has kind of like lied to herself a little bit through the movie and kind of told herself the story of like, no, like I belong here and all that. But sidebar aside, she tells him the whole story. Like, I saw this other girl. It was like terrifying. I ran away. Like, it really kind of had this big effect on me. And his response was, "Hey, look, like whatever happened happened a long time ago, right? Like, what does that have to do with now?" and just kind of filling out the portion. He's not just the comic relief, like he is kind of playing the classic archetype of the fool and kind of the person who's got he's got jokes, not a whole lot of substance, not really interested in self-awareness at all. And when directly presented with, hey, like this is what our whole predicament hinges on, she kind of gives him like 90% of it. And he's like, yeah, like happened a long time ago. Like, what does that have to do with anything?
I feel like I hear that a lot too. Like, yeah, stuff
That can be us. Like that,
this
as
amnesia,
living in
yeah.
now, like that is us.
Us, the movie.
Hopefully it's not us, but I mean, communally.
I thought it was interesting. Another detail that Alyssa pulled out that kind of goes with what you're saying, Philip, is this Shaman Vision Quest fun
Yeah,
house.
I was thinking about mentioning that. I wasn't sure where to work that in organically. Tell me about
it turns
that.
into Merlin's enchanted forest. So it's like you've kind of got this, kind of racist
in the 80s it didn't raise
stereotype.
any eyebrows.
Yeah. But then you have it being completely painted over, as this Merlin's enchanted forest, and it's like, we just forget that this other thing existed. And
It's like,
I mean,
oops,
there's
let's change
Disney
it.
rides like that, right? Like where what was it?
Brer Rabbit.
Brer Rabbit, yeah. And the Song of the South part of the theme park that got turned into the totally different island thing. And they like repainted over all the stuff in the ride and like all that kind of stuff to just literally put a layer of paint over the racism,
over the path. But like also in this, like if you go too far, like what were they supposed to do? Like, yeah, we had like a really bad Indian like red like stereotype of like the red face, and these are like bad scary people, or like these people are only one thing. Like, what do you do? I don't know, but to literally go like this is different now. And even it's interesting in that specific way, like to the one-to-one of, oh, like we've got this crazy character that's like a real person, like a real nation of people who we stole this land from and brutalized versus a wizard. Like those are the, like, for our enjoyment and for our consumption, like these two are equitable.
Yeah, and I think that's a message for us in a way where it's like, no matter how much we think that there's a benefit to just say, hey, let's just move past it, push past it, forget about it, whatever. The movie Us shows that, you can't just paint over something or quote unquote replace something and that fixes the problem. As well as there is so much value in remembering the past rather than covering it up. Because then it allows us to be able to, like we're doing now, think substantively about how to move forward, how to interact with others. There's so much value in how we interact with other humans, to where there might have been a less aggressive approach from the doppelgangers. But it really shows us on a practical level. Like I don't think we benefit as much as we think we do by covering up the past rather than confronting it.
Because another way of thinking about it too, when they switch places early in the film, it could almost be seen as like how if you cheaply kind of just push down a part of your character or something you struggle with, or you know what I mean, you're just trying to bury it, but it doesn't really go away unless you've really fully dealt with something. You can swap out one thing for another thing. You can try to put something underground and put it away. But the reality is that unless you really deal with stuff, it does come back to,
we try to look at the tethered. Yeah, there's a form where we can look at the tethered and be like, oh my gosh, they're barbarians, they're crazy. But it does raise a question, like, how much less are they you? How much less are they us? You know what I'm saying? Just because they're the ones approaching, killing you, who's to say that if you weren't, and even I think Lupita's character shows, just because you're on this side of the fence doesn't mean you would act or behave any differently if you were under the same circumstances. And so don't be so quick to dismiss and say, oh, that's them. And, oh, they are barbaric. They crazy. It's like, yeah, and you could be too.
And I think that exact thing was illustrated in a scene that I've really enjoyed. I feel like slightly different ways each time I've seen it, when their friend's families, Elizabeth Moss and her husband and their twin girls, when they're getting attacked by their doppelgangers, the husband's relaxing. He's having his sound system play Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. And it turns, after they've been attacked, they're trying to say to their little device, I forget what they call it, but it's basically an Alexa. They're like, call the police, and it starts playing F the Police by NWA.
Yeah.
Like, the shift there, it goes from like Good Vibrations, like Beach Boys, super popular hit, like the most kind of the emptily positive platitudes, to shifting to like NWA's a California group. Like, Californians think, oh, like it's movie stars and beaches and stuff. But the things that they're shining a light on in that song is like the plight of people who are being oppressed and treated poorly by the authority.
They put the police on trial. Yeah. That's literally the structure of the song.
And that song starts playing as the tethered are coming to kind of take over. Like, it plays like it's funny. Like, the first time you watch that, oh, like F the Police starts playing when they're like trying to call the police for help. But really, like, when you look at it, it works on so many levels. And that is the thoughtful popcorn entertainment that is actually like saying something that's deep too, while also being entertaining and funny. Like, Jordan Peele, man, like is a true genre master. And I love how you can only do that in a genre movie. Like, you couldn't do that in a straight down the line drama, but it works here on all those levels. And when you really think about it, like, it delivers. And for me, what I'm trying to get out of that, and I've watched this movie many times, I could watch it a lot more, because it's a genre film, it can do that and have a much more a much stronger impact, rather.
Yeah. And one part I saw, and this might not be super substantive, but so, and everybody, like, when the trailer came out, people were talking about it when the song I Got Five on It came in on the car, and Lupita was like on the 1 and 3 rather than the choice. 2 and 4. And as actually it's symbolism to like, oh, is she doing it different? Because she is different. You feel me? And so 100%. I think that was so subtle that you have to watch it a lot to get like the connection of that. Because then you're thinking like, okay, she's a little offbeat. I don't know why she's doing it like that. But then you watch it a few more times, and it's like, because you a different breed. And so it was kind of funny, but also that even that was intentional. And I really love that.
And also another good Gabe joke / denial moment too, where like the two kids, the younger boys, like what's that mean? Like, what does I Got Five on it? What's that mean? His older sister's like, it's about drugs. And then Gabe's response is, it's not about drugs. It's a dope song. Like, don't think about it, just enjoy it. Like, that's kind of his deal. And
exactly.
That's just another aspect of like, it is easy to kind of go through life just kind of vibing and enjoying things and not really thinking about it. And not that you need to get terribly deep into like that particular song, but just to kind of show his attitude of, he's like, he is not a thoughtful guy, and that can reflect on us. Like, we try to be thoughtful here at The Substance, biblical, thoughtful human and such, but it can be easy to just kind of go through life and enjoying things and not really thinking about what's underneath them.
Yeah.
It's good, guys.
Well, hey, we really enjoyed this film. We think you guys will too. So if you have not watched it, we absolutely recommend that you do and watch it multiple times. I think you'll get quite a bit from it. And
watch it again.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
And definitely watch it again. And we'll definitely be covering Nope at some point, because we're super excited for that. So let's move into Shoutouts.
So I'm actually going to pivot here. I was going to shout out, I was going to kind of keep it on the horror front and do a horror comic that I read recently. that I thought was pretty good. It wasn't the most substantive thing in the world, but I wanted to highlight it because I enjoyed it. But actually, I said something during the recording here. The first Purge actually will be my shout out this time.
Oh,
I have been a fan. I have been a, what is the right word? Not reluctant, but like a hopeful fan of the Purge franchise and mythos. Like, it is a really interesting idea that is not entirely dissimilar to some of the ideas in Us, but I've kind of felt like every Purge film or series fell short for a long time. The Purge materials failed to really capitalize on the power of the underlying idea. But then the first Purge, which kind of goes to the point, like you said, Vince, like, how did it all start?
mhm.
I thought, like, it's very genre. It's very like silly and popcorn in ways. But I thought, I was like, okay, it was like the fourth or fifth film. But I thought it finally kind of truly capitalized on, and it's thin, like the characters are very whatever, but I was like, okay, it gave me what I wanted out of the Purge movies, and I enjoyed it a lot. So it R-rated horror movie, very gruesome,
Yeah,
etc.
definitely a
But
splish splash.
I enjoyed the. I mean, I don't know what we're saying splish splash means right now. It's not like
Well, there is
super
language, but I
Yeah.
guess splish splash
Yeah,
of
for
blood too.
it's check it out, use your discretion. But I really did enjoy the first Purge.
Awesome. All right, play the sound. I got a triple feature, so I'm gonna go super fast. I got
Oh,
3
dang.
shout outs, super fast. One is the movie called Searching. Forget the year that it was
Nice.
released.
John
Especially,
Cho?
yeah, especially the intro. One of the best intros that I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was one of the quickest but most effective ways for me to be attached to the characters. Absolutely phenomenal film. Probably,
It's been on my watch list forever. I still
oh
haven't
my
watched
gosh,
it yet.
it's really, really good. So definitely watch the movie Searching. Second, super fast. Labrinth has a song that comes from the Euphoria show. I'm not shouting out the Euphoria show, but I am shouting out this song. It's
Always
called
around the Euphoria show.
yeah. It's called Skeletons. It's a banger. It's very fast. It's super super hype. It starts off very melodic and kind of dainty in a way, and then it just goes hard. So super super awesome, 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 awesome song. And then I also wanted to shout out a YouTube channel. I've been recently watching TLA, or The Lead Attorney. This is a guy who's over 20 years of divorce court, that he's a lawyer. He's been practicing for a long time, so he converted over to YouTube to share a lot of thoughts and insights about all kinds of things in the court. And the guy makes it so entertaining. Anytime you hear lead attorney, hope you guys are doing well, man, you already know it's gonna be good. Like, he enters all of his videos that way. He does a lot of live streaming, but the guy just makes engaging in certain legal topics super super engaging. It's funny, it's entertaining. There's definitely a splish splash warning depending on which live you're watching, so be aware of that. But definitely wanted to shout out the movie Searching, the song by Labrinth called Skeletons, and the YouTuber TLA, The Lead Attorney.
For my shout out, is it chill if I shout out a mobile app? This is kind of
Sure,
weird.
sure, man.
Yeah, it's just a game, but it's been kind of fun. I've been on family vacation, and it's a game I've kind of got my family into for a while. It's actually on Steam as well, and I believe Android. So if you've got a PC with Steam or an Android, you'll be able to play it as well as if you have an iPhone. It's called Polytopia, or the Battle for Polytopia. It's kind of a turn-based RTS game, and they recently had some updates to it that allows like alliances and some more like complex stuff, and it's pretty fun. There's all sorts of different like nations you can play as, tribes they call them, and they have like different abilities or whatever, or advantages, and I don't know, I just think it's really fun. You can play with your family. I've played with, we've got a game going right now, my father-in-law, my wife, and me, and it's pretty fun.
Nice.
That's what's up, man.
There you go. Polytopia. It's my shout out.
The Battle for Polytopia or Polytopia?
You can search either. I always just call it Polytopia because it's easier, but I think that's the full title, is The Battle for Polytopia.
Boom. Well, hey, maybe throw your username in there if anybody wants to join and fight against you or play with. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, you can. You can find people based on their username and add them, and then start games and stuff. But
DM us
I
if
would
you start it.
lose all of my time. Yeah, there you go. That's fine.
Well, cool. Man, guys, I miss Substantive Cinemas.
This was fun.
I'm glad to be talking to you
This
guys.
was great.
Since we switched to
Good
bi-weekly,
job. This makes me want to go watch it again.
we didn't have one in the can. So, like, logistically, it's been a minute since we all watched the same movie and talked about it. So it's nice to get back on track. We'll be getting back on track with these.
Yeah,
Man,
get them a little more planful.
Trevor, I am so excited for you to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm very excited.
Ooh, is that my next assignment?
That's probably going to be our next one. 'Cause, I mean, we've been talking with Hannah and her husband. They're eager to get on it. So teaser for the listeners there. And
all right, I haven't opened my Mission Impossible goggles yet.
I'm excited.
I didn't want them to explode
think of it
too early while I was on vacation. So now I know.
Hey, a movie reference. Trevor knows movies.
Here's the thing.
The goggles also Mission Impossible 2. That was like 2003 or 4, maybe.
That's real good. How many times have we gone like that? This visual joke for an audio podcast.
Wow. That was the year 2000? That was 22 years ago. I remember watching that at your birthday at your house on VHS.
Oh, was that the flicking, the cigarette flicking birthday? No, that wasn't. That was later. Not that I did. That it just happened.
That's great for our listeners. A little bit of mystery. Like that's a very interesting thing to just kind of throw out there.
Yeah, that's the thing to throw out there. The thing about my movie references is they usually come from movies that you've watched that then I reference because we talk about them.
Yeah, because 90% of the movies you watch are in some way to do with me.
It's so much faster to let you watch the movie and then I just know about it.
It's true.
And I didn't take 2 hours watching the movie.
It's true.
It's one way.
I do the same thing with academic papers sometimes.
One could say that my movie knowledge is like tethered to yours.
Ooh, all right. That's a good closer there. So we'll wrap that part of the show up. Guys, we appreciate you. Thanks for rocking with us. It's exciting to kind of see the numbers like on our shows. It doesn't look like we've had people dropped off. It actually looks like taking the week off and going to bi-weekly has given people more of a chance to check out our back catalog. Our back catalog listens have kind of jumped up a whole bunch. So that's exciting. If you are newer to the Substance and enjoying our back catalog, we'd love to invite you to join us to become a regular supporter. You can do it on the anchor link in our show notes. There's a $5 or $10 a month option. It's a great way to help support us. Let us know that you're interested. You want to hear more Substance, kind of help us build it out. We've got a couple of different goals, and we might actually look at like tiers and say, I don't know, like we might have more incentives for that in the future. But if you just like it, if you think it's a high quality show worth paying for, we'd love it if you join us there. Or if monthly support is not something you're interested or able to do right now, you got a nice fat tax return, you can shoot us a couple of bucks at Cash App at $ the Substance Pod. I always appreciate folks who send us a little something. We do this for free. We're always going to do it for free, but it's nice in kind of this entertainment economy, kind of supporting the stuff you like. So those are the two main ways to support us.
Visit our site at thesubstancepod.com. There you are going to find all of our episodes, all of the content that we talk about. Our YouTube page doesn't have our comment section active, but we do have it active on our website. So leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought about this episode or any episode in the past. We love to hear from you. Our social links are in the upper right corner of the homepage. So you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And also check out the Blessed playlist. We actually have episodes and songs that we do enjoy, that we've shouted out on here, or that we just like, that you guys can check out. There is a splish splash warning on there. There's look for that explicit little icon on there. If that is that part of your conviction, then don't click on that. But there's plenty there that you can enjoy, and you can be listening with us, enjoying with us, and maybe even adding things to your own playlist. So visit us at thesubstancepod.com.
And I will say, we'll wait till it's done to plug them explicitly. But Vince and I have a guest appearance coming on friend of the show that we've plugged before that we're very excited for.
Super.
I have a couple other guest appearances that I'll be recording soon. We'll wait till those are recorded and posted. In the podcast world, it's not real until those episodes are published. So we will have some of those hopefully to be plugging soon here.
Awesome. So yeah, look forward to those. Look for us on those other podcasts. Look for us also in a place that you might not expect, your phone line. Just on the other end of it.
Nice.
It's almost like the tight string and the little tin can. It's kind of like that, but just a telephone where you dial numbers, and that's how you get to the end of it. And those numbers are 913-703-3883. And that will direct your electronic representations of the audio coming out of your mouth hole to our voicemail line, because it is, in fact, the year of the voicemail.
You're the voicemail.
So if all of that makes sense and you want to do it, dial 913-703-3883 now. Do it now. Dial it now.
And we made it easy for you, too, at thesubstancepod.com. If you get it on your mobile device, you can just click it. We got a year of the voicemail banner. Click it, and you have the option to call us right away. So
click it. Do it now. And when you do it right now, because I just told you to, you just be like, yo, Trevor told me to do this right now. And then you can tell me anything. You can say, hey, this is what I think about the substance. This is what I thought about this episode. This is some of the ways the substance has impacted my thinking or my life. Or here's some thoughts I have about ways to make the substance better. Whatever. We'd love to hear from you. You're the voicemail, 913-703-3883. Dial it now. Right now.
Boom.
Boom. You can email us. It's thesubstancepod@gmail.com. And that's on the website, too. It's all on the website, thesubstancepod.com. It's really cool.
Really cool.
Just like this episode. And you're cool for joining us. Me, Trevor.
And Philip.
And Vincent.
We will see you next time
on The Substance.
We gone. Follow us on thesubstancepod.com. Visit that website. Let me start over. Visit our website at okay, what the heck?
Follow our website.
Follow our website and visit us on the... all right.